So here we are, guys. It's a gorgeous day actually. It's absolutely stunning. It's not quite mill pond calm, but it's not far off it. I'm probably, as you can see here, I'm probably about, I'm going to say about 1 to 1.5 k's away from shore. It's hard to tell actually. It's hard to tell these distances when they're so flat. Everything looks a little bit closer than it actually is, but I'm saying I'm probably about 1 to 1.5 k's away from shore. I'm heading over there still towards Green Island, which is the small green island in the front. It's actually called Brown's Island, but it's actually green, if you know what I mean, to look at. It's always confused me. I call it Green Island, but it's actually formerly called Brown Island, although it's very green. The island behind it is actually a volcano. See if I can get a bit closer there for you. Yeah, so that's Rangitoto. It's actually joined to what looks like a separate island over there. These are actually joined. These are actually two. I think actually that island there is actually a piece of mainland which split into an island, and it's joined up with Rangitoto, which is a volcano. So I'm heading over that way, guys. I wanted to show you just briefly the FXD Marine Nationale. Let me just zoom back out. The water's gorgeous, guys. It really is so calm today. So the FXD Marine Nationale, just wanted to have a quick chat with you about the bezel, because of course one of the slightly unusual aspects of this watch, the facets of this watch, is the fact that it's got a retrograde timing bezel. In other words, unlike most bezels where it starts at 5, 10, 15, 20 and works its way up, this bezel works its way down from 60, 55, 50. That's fine. That's really good if you want to do some dead reckoning calculations when you're swimming underwater. You know, I want to swim for 20 minutes in that direction, and then when I get to that spot there, after 20 minutes, I'm going to swim for another 10 minutes, you know, due southeast. That's kind of why a retrograde bezel was useful for the Marine Nationale, for the dead reckoning calculations when they're swimming underwater. To be honest with you, and I'm going to be really honest with you guys, it's not much use in everyday practical use, and I'll give you an example of why. I use timing bezels a lot for coaching. I'm a coach of my boys' football team, soccer, as some of you guys might call it, but its real name is football, and I'm the coach of my boys' football team. And we train on a Tuesday night, and I quite often train the routines, and basically just simple things like I will spend 10 minutes doing this routine, and I just set my bezel quickly and off we go. It's a little bit more awkward with this watch, guys. When I wear this, I have to kind of take a double take. And yesterday I was refereeing our game. We're very happy. We won 5-0. The boys were happy. Not nearly as happy as they were with the lolly scramble at the end of the game. That always makes them even more happier than winning and scoring, which is great to see. But yeah, guys, I was refereeing the game, and it's a 28-minute each way game. And I was playing around with my bezel. I was just about to call for kickoff, and I was playing around with my bezel and even trying to set it correctly, so that, because I had to realise, yes, I'm counting down from 28 minutes to 0 now. So I probably looked like a bit of a knobhead, just sort of stood there as a referee playing around with my bezel, trying to figure out which way I wanted it to go. So yeah, once I figured it out, it's just counterintuitive, guys. I think that's where I'm going with it. It's just counterintuitive. So the retrograde bezel, I think it's a novelty. I think it's a novelty on this watch. I like it, but I do think it's a novelty. I have to take a double take at this quite frequently when I'm actually using it for practical use. And that's actually where I think the black FXD is potentially a better option for everyday wear, and even, for people like me that actually want to use the bezel for timing things. Anyway, that's enough on the bezel. I love this watch, guys. It hasn't put me off the watch at all. I just think it's a quirk of this particular model, that's all. I'm going to keep going, guys, because I've got a nice packed lunchbox, and I want to get over there for lunch, and I'll see you soon. Well, what a gorgeous mid-winter's day here in Auckland, guys. There you go. There's my kayak there. I've just got this beach to myself. This is Browns Island, which is, as you can see, is actually very green. I've got myself, believe it or not, somebody went to the trouble to come out to this little island and put a picnic bench here. So there you go. There's my picnic bench. There's my mode of transport for the day. And guys, yeah, so during the course of this video you will have seen that I'm just inserting some images or some videos with a bit of a soundtrack, you know, with my Tudor Pelagos FXD Marine Nationale. What I wanted to really talk about just for a couple of minutes, if I can, is, you know, just to kind of break down the whole FXD lineup. And, you know, we all like a good video, don't we, where we talk about which is the best model. And so I'm going to fall into that trap, guys, and I'm going to make a video now, and I'm going to talk to you about which of the Tudor FXDs I think is probably the best. Now, obviously it goes without saying, we'll start with the Marine Nationale, because I'm wearing it and I own it. I really like this watch, but as I said to you in a previous insert just earlier on in the video, I did say that using the retrograde bezel is kind of more of a quirk. It takes a bit of getting used to, and is it actually practical in everyday use? Well, no, not really. What's practical in everyday use is a normal dive bezel, which, you know, starts at 5 minutes, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and it makes it very easy, obviously, to time things like your eggs, because we all know that dive watches are most useful when you're timing your cooking. So you're timing your eggs, you're timing your steak, you know, 2 minutes each side or whatever it is. Don't need a stopwatch for that, guys. You don't need a chronograph. You just need a diver's bezel, don't you? So, you know, and I obviously use my diver's bezel all of the time for coaching the kids' football team, for refereeing games, you know, so I use it a lot, you know, practically speaking. And I can't tell you the amount of times, guys, during the course of even a week, that I quite often just use my diver's bezel on a watch. So very, very practical, useful tool. So of course you've got the Marine Nationale, not an easy to use bezel, and that of course then takes us on to the next FXD model, which is the black FXD, which is quite recently released. Now, when I first saw the black FXD, I thought, well, no, that's boring. That's you know, that's kind of never going to be as exciting for me as the blue Marine Nationale. It doesn't have that nice engraving on the back of the case. It's just got a plain case back. But I've kind of softened my stance on that, and I've seen that watch in the flesh just recently, actually, a couple of times. Shall I go around here? Let's have a little wander around here. The tide's actually still coming in, so if I leave it too long, I might get stranded around here. The tide is due to be completely in about an hour. Anyway, let's carry on around here. So you've got the black FXD. Now that's a watch which I've actually come to appreciate and respect a lot more now that I've actually seen it in the flesh. It is a really nice watch. It's got all the quirks of the FXD, of course, with the fixed lugs, but it's got a standard diving bezel, a standard, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 minute diving bezel, which is going to be useful, you know, in everyday use, of course, unlike the Marine Nationale. And it's black, you know, and as I've said in previous videos, who doesn't want a black diver's watch? Everybody needs a black diver's watch in their collection, so there it is. There you go. The black, I'm going to say right now, I think the black for everyday use is probably more practical than the blue, because I think the black is probably one of those more, I guess, suitable watches that you could wear even potentially to work if you worked in an office. I think if you put that black FXD on a nice black NATO, I think that is going to look super smart, guys. I think that is going to look super smart in the office, that black FXD on a black NATO. That then takes us on to what other models have we got. So there, right now, those are the only two that I can think of, the only two titanium models, because of course the original FXD Marine Nationale is titanium, and the black FXD is also titanium. And then of course Tudor have released quite a number now of black carbon-based FXDs, and it's taken me a while to warm to them. You've got the Alingi. Now, for those of you who don't know what Alingi is basically a Swiss-based sailing team, which is a bit counterintuitive because of course Switzerland is landlocked, but it is a Swiss-based sailing team. They have a They have a lot of money, and they're pumping a lot of money into their team, which has entered into the America's Cup, which is being held very shortly, actually. I think it starts in the next few weeks, the America's Cup Regatta. That starts in Barcelona. Team New Zealand will be there. Emirates Team New Zealand will be there. Omega, for those of you who are into sailing as well, will know that Omega sponsor Emirates Team New Zealand, and they've just actually released, I think they've released a Planet Ocean and a Seamaster, which actually sort of came out pretty much under the radar, actually, but I know those two watches are out there now. So anyway, so Tudor are sponsoring the Alinghi America's Cup sailing team, and they've released two watches. One is pretty much just a standard time only with a bezel, and the other watch that they released at the same time is actually a chronograph. Now, I like both of those watches. They're both in quite a nice dark blue. It's like the Red Bull racing blue. For those of you that are into Formula One, you'll know what that blue looks like. I think that's a really classy blue. Would I wear that watch? And that's the thing. Would I wear that watch for everyday wear? No, I wouldn't. I think both of those watches are very handsome watches. They're very sporty watches, and I think they've got a time and a place where you'd wear them. A little bit like this FXD Marine Nationale. There's a time and a place to wear it. And guys, you know, if you're into sailing, then that is the time and the place to wear either of those two Alinghi Red Bull Racing watches. But and I do like the chronograph, by the way. I do like that chronograph. I saw it the other day at one of our local ADs. I didn't try it on, but I had a good old look at it, and I had a good old feel of it. Really liked it. And that takes us on to another recent release, which is the all black. Now that's called the Racing Edition, and I think it's a cycling edition, isn't it? It's a cycling edition of the Pelagos FXD, and it's pretty much all black with a few dashes of red in it. Fantastic. I actually really like that. I think if I were to buy another FXD, I actually think that cycling edition might be the one that I go for. It's very, very sleek. It's very, very understated, I think, whilst at the same time it's got that real sportiness to it. And actually, when we talk about wearing watches, you know, the versatility and wearing them in the office, I actually think that cycling edition, I think, again, stick that on a black NATO, and I think you could wear that under a shirt cuff in the office without it being out of place. So for me, and I'm just going to rank these in order now, I think the best of the FXDs to go for all-round versatility is the black one. And I'm going to say second. I'm going to say second is the cycling edition, which is pretty much all black with some dashes of red. I'm going to say third is the FXD Marine Nationale, which is the one I'm wearing. And then I'm going to go with the Alinghi time only as number 4, and then I'm going to put as a final, and it's by no means last in terms of being a all-round goddamn nice watch, is the chronograph, the Alinghi chronograph. I think that's probably number 5. So that's where I sit with it, guys. I think that black FXD for an all-rounder is the best. Do I like it more than the Marine Nationale? No, not at all. I think the Marine Nationale is an absolute corker. If you put this in front of me with the black one, I'd still choose this one, because that's the kind of strange watch-making decisions that we make sometimes, isn't it? Watch purchasing decisions that we make when we're buying watches. But they're my thoughts, guys. They're just my thoughts. Which I think takes us on to another subject, which I might as well cover at the same time, is that, you know, the Pelagos range generally, or Pelagos, or however you want to pronounce it. I've kind of fallen into the habit of calling it the Pelagos, although I think I started off when I first started calling it anything, I called it the Pelagos. But anyway, pronounce it however you wish. But yeah, look, the Pelagos range generally, I just think that they are fantastic watches. I had a blue Pelagos, I ended up selling it. I ended up selling the blue Pelagos not long after I bought the Marine Nationale, or the FXD, because what I actually found was that the blue Pelagos, if anything, for everyday use, it was almost too blue. It was almost too bright, too blue, and I kind of found it's actually one of those watches where when I wore it to work in the office, I actually found that it caught people's attention because it was so blue. You know, that real bright pop of blue. It kind of caught the eye. And I wasn't all that comfortable with that. it caught my eye a lot as well. Just sat there. Quite often, I just catch a glimpse of it and think, crikey, that's blue. Whereas I don't actually get that sort of sensation with the FXD. It's a duller, matter blue. But the FXD lineup, the Pelagos lineup is, I just think they're superb watches. You know, they're made of a really good grade of titanium. The bracelet is very nicely done. It's a good clasp. I mean, I think the clasp might be a little bit overrated. It's a good clasp. It's got a few little unusual kind of design tweaks that have been made to it to make it look very, very tooly. But ultimately, it's got a micro adjust like a lot of decent watches that you'd expect. But I think the actual overall dimensions of the Pelagos range are great. And of course, you've got how many Pelagoses have you got to choose from now? You've got the blue, you've got the black, and you've got the left-hand crown Pelagos. I like all three of those. If I were to rank them in terms of preference, because you know it's not out of the question that I might end up getting myself another Pelagos, although I wouldn't get the blue one. I think, guys, honestly, I'm gonna go black again. I think I'd probably end up getting the black Tudor Pelagos with the crown in the conventional position. I think that's a very, very nice watch, and that almost, as a watch, I think that would almost qualify for me as a one and done kind of watch. You know, if that's where your budget sits and if that's the type of aesthetic that you're into. And of course, don't forget it's titanium. I think that the black Tudor Pelagos could definitely tick the box as a one and done watch. I think it's a cracker. And then I'd probably follow that up with with the slightly unusual layout of the left-hand crown, but the date wheel is still on the right. The only thing I don't like about that watch, the only thing I really don't think I like about that watch is the fact that the date in the date wheel is in red. Yeah, that just kind of, I don't know, it's a bit too much of a distraction for me. I just wish they'd left the colour of the date, you know, the same colour as the rest of the indices, as in that sort of pale cream colour. I think it just provides a little bit too much quirkiness and imbalance. That's just my personal opinion, although it's a great watch. And of course the blue's an outrageous sports watch at the end of the day, and if that's what you want, get the blue, because again, it really does catch the eye. It's a fantastic, sporty, summery Tudor Pelagos. So that's my view there on the wider range of the Tudor Pelagos range. Right, so I'm heading back home now, team. Heading back home. I was tempted at one point earlier in the day to see if I could make the final stretch across from Brown Island across to Rangitoto. I decided against it, and I decided against it for a couple of reasons. One being that, as you might be able to see here, just there's a bit more of a swell now than there was 2 or 3 hours ago. It's not worrying. I can kayak paddle quite comfortably in this kind of swell. It's only really sort of 25-30 centimeters of swell. It's not much at all, but there's a bit of a breeze behind me now. I'm heading back with the breeze behind me. I'm heading pretty much center of picture. I've got about 7 or 8 k's to go. I'll just hug the coastline here as I'm heading back and enjoy looking at some of the multi-million-dollar houses that are falling into the sea. I always quite enjoy looking at those, wondering whether I'll see them again next year. But just to finish, guys. Oh, the other reason why, other than the fact that the swell has picked up a little bit, is that yeah, it's a little bit chilly, and the water temperature is cold, and I don't want to put myself in a bit of a pickle where I end up getting tipped out because it's a very busy channel that I'd have to cross, and I end up in water that's got probably a temperature of about 12 to 14 degrees right now. It's not very nice when I'm trying to maintain 32 degrees body heat. I'll probably lose that quite quickly and get hypothermic quite quickly, so it's just not the right time of year for it either. So I've decided to head back home, follow the coastline back home. But just to finish, guys, I just wanted to talk about Tudor generally. So I've talked about, obviously, the FXD. I've talked about the Pelagos, the wider Pelagos range, and which of those models I like and why. And also, probably would be a good appropriate time for me to finish and just talk about Tudor generally as a brand. Now, of course, I've taken the mickey out of Tudor in the past in some of my videos, and I've called them the pall bearer to the Undertaker, which is of course the Undertaker is Rolex, because they're still intertwined, inextricably linked, as Tony Blair used to say, with Rolex. Tudor and Rolex are pretty much one and the same, fall under the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation. So fine. So Tudor will never be Rolex. We know that, because they just can't be by default, and their design aesthetic leads them towards more of a sporty dynamic, I suppose you could say, than Rolex. And other than the Black Bay range, which is trying to look a bit like the OP and the Datejust, other than that range, if we look at the sports range, I think they're a very unique design, if you ask me. This is just my opinion. They're a very unique design. I think when you get a Tudor, you're getting something quite unique. I think when you get, when you get into the specifications, you're looking at a watch. Any Tudor has got really very, very good specifications. Accuracy, power reserve, and just all-round build quality. They use different metals. Titanium, silver, bronze. They're not frightened to take chances, Tudor, with some of their designs. Finally, price. They are. In a world where, honestly, I think watch prices have gone ridiculous over the last couple of years in particular, and it's really starting to bite now, isn't it? With these watch companies, they're not selling anywhere near as many watches in certain ranges that they used to, or that they predicted, and that they budgeted for, I'm sure. That's because, of course, the prices have gone up so significantly. But in that world, relatively speaking, Tudor is still very, very good value for money. So, yeah, look, I'm eyeing up a Tudor, guys. I'm just going to finish this video by saying to you, I'm eyeing up potentially buying myself another Tudor. It's on the horizon. I'll give you a reason why. It's because I'm hanging out for that white dialed Speedmaster that Omega have told us exists. I haven't seen it. They announced that nearly 4 months ago now. I haven't seen one. I spoke to my AD recently, and he told me that he hasn't seen one. So please, Omega, stop announcing watches that you don't then release for 6 months. It's ridiculous, because we all lose interest. So I've lost interest in the white dialed Speedmaster now, because I'm just thinking, well, you've announced it, you haven't released it in any great volume to anybody, so now I'm sorry, I'm just going to move on to something that I can get. It's not a Rolex. I can wait for a Rolex. I'm not going to wait for an Omega. So I'm looking at Tudor, guys. I was in one of the ADs. I was in both the ADs actually here in Auckland during the week, and one of them had pretty much everything in stock. They had the black FXD. They had they also had the two Alingi FXDs. They also had 2 of the 3 standard Pelagos. They had the silver dialed GMT. They had the new, the new Black Bay with the red bezel on the Jubilee bracelet. And I'm looking at all these watches, guys, and I'm thinking, yep, okay, yeah, if there's a watch purchase coming soon, guys, it's going to be the brother. It's going to be the brother of the FXD. And what would that watch be? It's got to be a sports watch, because I'm just into sports watches. What would the brother of the FXD be? What would complement this watch perfectly, guys, in the world of Tudor sports watches? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys, because I'm heading home now. I'll see you guys on the next video. Cheers.